Welcome to SORMAG's Writers Café, where we share the real writer's life over a cup of friendship, sprinkled with laughter and wisdom. My name is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I'm your host. This episode's sponsor is the Social Butterfly Promotion Membership. Did your PayPal bling every day with your book sales for 2020? Or did you only receive Starbucks royalty checks? Enough money to buy you a cup of coffee. If you answer Starbucks royalty, I'm talking to you today. 2021 can be the year you meet your book sales goals. Join the Social Butterfly Promotion Membership today, and you will learn how to create a promotion plan, find your audience, and learn how to become a social butterfly that soars on these social media streets. Check the show notes for the link to join the Social Butterfly Promotion Membership. Hello, everyone. Sitting at the cafe today is Dedrick Moone, Teresa Seals, and Sanethya Williams. I know I said that wrong, didn't I? That's crazy. Welcome. I wrote it and still said it crazy. All right. Who wants to go first? Tell us who you are, what your book is about, and if you want, read an excerpt.
Hi, my name is Dedrick Moone. You guys can find me on social media under D Moon. I don't particularly like to use my first name. But anyway, I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Book of Self-Love. I'm also a co-host of Talk Truth Series, which is a podcast that broadcasts on Facebook and YouTube. I'm a dad manager, editor, strategist, a content creator, and I'm also an author. As far as being an author, I am the author of the recently released book called The Unexpected Journey, Fire and Gold. The book is a personal memoir that's written by my daughter and myself. My daughter's my co-author. The book is a journey of a single father, which of course is me, who risked it all to protect and provide for his daughter, which of course is my daughter Haelee. Readers who actually have the book, they will basically learn how I survived brokenness, criminal prosecution, discrimination, reprisal, and unemployment to ultimately come out gold. My daughter is also an author herself. She is the author of a book called The Rules of a Big Boss, a book of self-love. That book is the precursor to this book that we're speaking of, and that book is basically a manual for young and adult women to maximize higher self-esteem. But the book, The Unexpected Journey, takes a deeper dive into that. If you guys follow along with me for a little bit, I'll actually read just one page from it. It's actually the introduction. Give me just a moment to find it. So the introduction reads, excuse me, I don't have my glasses on, so give me a second. I've been through a litany of ups and downs in life. Some of those ups include unexpected promotions and bonuses. Some of those downs include employer retaliation and discrimination. Those ups were my foundation, They birthed in me an even greater strength for the tough times that were ahead. In contrast, the down served as a catalyst to strengthen me. I count it all joy because everything in life has a purpose. A semblance of that purpose is in my and Haelee's ability to share my and our experiences with readers, like yourself in this memoir. We write it to encourage you. Please know that tough times only make you stronger. I hope that you're inspired once you've read it, and we thank anyone and everyone for their purchase. Now I'm going to flip all the way to the end and read just a little bit from it, so give me a second. So the book goes in, and it tells about everything that we've been through. We've literally been through hell. The educational system, the courts, the police, juvenile justice, and everything. And President Obama actually had to get involved in this book. Anyone that reads it will find out about that in Chapter 7 and also in the appendices. And the book, as you come to the end, it says that God didn't promise days without pain, laughter without sorrow, nor sun without rain. But he made a promise, strength for the day, comfort for tears, and light for the day. God did that very thing for Haelee and I throughout our trials and tribulations. It is almost as if she and I were like Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, and that we withstood the fiery furnace that was intended to kill us. We survived because God let us out of the furnace. He refined us, redefined us, and is now allowing us to live a purpose-filled life that he set for us. He will do the same thing for you because he loves you. So please don't allow yourself to become drowned in despair. He will carry you through all things as he did my daughter and I. He will do so in a way that is especially suited for you. Whatever fires you first, enter the furnace, trust in God, and watch him bring you out as gold. And also, in conclusion, fight your battles forward. Never fight them in reverse. Always press towards the high mark. And I'll pass the mic over.
How old is your daughter?
My daughter is 13.
Wow, that's a lot to go through at 13.
Absolutely. And actually, when she went through it, she was 7. But she has been able to move and heal past her pain and has been able to share it. So now she is being a motivational speaker, vlogger, blogger for others, and she doesn't want to see others go through what she's went through. So, that was the impetus behind it. And when she originally wrote everything, she was really doing it for herself, writing so that she could heal. And as she wrote it, she and I talked about it, and I said, you should share it with other people because other people need to hear your story. And so she said, okay. So we published that book, The Rules of a Big Boss, in July of last year. And then she basically came back and threw my advice back in my face and said, Dad, you need to tell the rest of the story. So I said, nah, initially. Then after I received confirmation and affirmation from my mother and friends and things of that nature, I finally said, okay. So my daughter and I sat down in November, and we started writing The Unexpected Journey together, and we concluded it and had it over to editing towards the end of January. And so we just released it on Saturday in commemoration of my birthday. So my birthday present to myself was the release of my daughter's memoir.
Oh, you should have brought her on. We would have loved to talk to her, see what she had to say.
Hold on 1 second. I can call her in the room now. Hold on.
Oh, good.
Give me 1 second.
Okay, no problem.
I was about to say happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I think that's great that they're able to write together. My son decided he wanted to write a book, and then once he had to do his chapter, he chickened out on it. So I think it's fantastic when somebody wants to sit down, because writing is not as easy as it sounds like. It sounds like it'd be easy until you sit down and have to put words to paper.
Hi, this is Haelee.
Hi, Haelee. Nice to meet you.
You too.
So how does it feel to be a published author?
I still feel like the same me, but I really just have now something to be super duper proud of.
Mhm. Why did you think you should share your story?
Because I wanted to help other people. And not only did I want to help other people, but I wanted people to not be alone. For example, one thing that also helped to inspire me that made me want to do the same thing was when I was listening to the story of like this one of all of these celebrities, because there's this YouTube channel that does that. And I was like, wow, they may seem like this person who like has everything, but they once didn't have that, and then this is what it was like beforehand. So I just want people to like be aware that they're not alone either.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And congrats on your new book.
Thank you.
You ready, Teresa?
Oh, yes, I'm ready. Hi, good evening. I am Teresa Seals. I am the author of 6 books. I first published my book with Voices Books and Publishing back in 2006. It was a vanity press type company, and an Essence bestseller had started her publishing company. And through that process, I asked a bunch of questions, started reading and researching, and I formed my own publishing company where I now publish my own books and release them under my company, Redbud Ave Publications, and it's named after the street in which I grew up on. And when I first began this journey, I was writing fictional stories, or like they were biographies of me and my friends. And once I began working in a high school and noticed that there was the lack of reading from the youth in which I was working, and listening to their stories, and noticed that they had lower grade reading levels, I moved. I don't want to say that I moved my audience, but I changed up my style of writing to make it geared towards them, where they would be more enticed on reading. And so I would share different little stories that I was writing and get feedback from them. And the latest book that I published, that the principal, I took to my principal and assistant principal and used some of the standards from Missouri State standards to get this used as a reading tool for them in their class, was titled The Young and the Reckless. And I'll read the first page of it. And the title is The Young and the Reckless, and I got the title from the students in which, that I encountered on a daily basis. So chapter 1. Shortly after midnight, the menacing sounds of the March winds maneuvered meticulously through the streets of the Midwest. Pitter-patter was the rhythm of the falling rain, which was in sync with the howling wind and the rumbling thunder, were the only sounds that could be heard. The constellation, which emerged from the darkness of several roofs, were racing throughout the atmosphere in a smoky mist. Small puffs of smoke could be seen from every home that dwelled upon the city streets. The clock struck 3, and not a creature was stirring. The rainy tornado weather had come through the city's north side like a thief in the night. Various forms of debris floated spontaneously through the air. The moonlight was tucked away in the clouds as the moon appeared to be lost in the galaxy. Hustlers who hustled in the rain, sleet, and snow that could sell water to a well weren't even roaming about. The streets were empty during this spring night, and the temperatures were quite frigid. And the strong downburst was severe. The vacant streets were as though it was one of those harsh winter nights where hypothermia could set in. The emptiness of the outdoors suggested that all the citizens that usually flooded the streets were aware of the consequences of this malicious type of night. And that's the first page to the title to my book titled The Young and the Reckless. My next novel before that was No Limit, and that book was developed around the time the Mike Brown situation happened, and my students were so intense with what was going on and what was taking place. So I listened to stories that they had of what happened during the night of the riots and all those things. So I came up with 4 characters, and it's like a new age set it off type story where they were working at the check cashing place because one of my students was working there, and they were having a story on how they would rob the check cashing place during the riots. So it was funny to see the reaction once I finished that book, but it had some dynamics of true thoughts of what the students were experiencing and feeling during that time. So I was pretty proud of that book, but it's laughter thinking about the conversation that went around that. But my first book it's like that. My firstborn is still true and dear to my heart. And right now I am working on a book, and I'm having the hardest time because I've done research with my 86-year-old aunt through our family history, and she shared some things. And these are both my mother's sisters, and my aunt that is 79, and my mother. And so they have these different little stories, and I just told my sisters, I said, I want to write this book under a pen name so my family will not be interested in buying this book, because I just want to let all the dirt out of what I've heard. And I've actually recorded both of my aunts. Well, I'll say their testimonies, but I'm in the works of trying to think of how I can formulate the ideas and get this concept going where no one's feelings will be hurt. But it's up in the air right now. But I'm very passionate about writing. This is I've treated it like a hobby before, but now during this pandemic, I have been truly passionate about this is not just a hobby for me. This is something that I really want to make a career out of.
And you one of those authors that you have to be weary about saying stuff too, because you be put it in your book.
Yes. Make me mad, and I'm going to kill you in my book. Yes. Yes. That's it's like when I listen to stories, I always try to think of a way to turn it around, to put a spin to it. And the reason being is I blame this on my mother, because I was the only child for 11 years. So I had this wild imagination. Like, I had these tea parties by myself and all this different kind of stuff, and I talked to Dal. So, some of those things come into play as an adult.
Okay. When you said the name of the street, I got flashbacks. I lived on Kings Highway in Lee from first grade to third grade, and so I know that street well.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's right there in St. Louis. I'm like, Redbud. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Synithia. Did I say it right?
Yep, you said it right.
Yay! I've been over here practicing. All right. Go ahead. Introduce yourself, please.
No worries. Thank you for having me. I'm Sanethya Williams. I'm the author of sexy, messy, emotional romance novels that are as hot as their southern settings, is what I call them. I published, my first novel was published in 2012, and now with my next release, Careless Whispers, which comes out on March 30th, that will be my 22nd novel that I've written and had published. So I'm very excited to have Careless Whispers out. Careless Whispers is part of my Jackson Fall series that I published with Harlequin's HQN line. It's the line of kind of longer single-title romance novels. So I'm very excited about it. The Jackson Fall series is set in a fictional town called Jackson Falls in North Carolina, and it follows a wealthy black family that took their history as sharecroppers who wants kind of farm tobacco and then turn that into a wealthy tobacco empire that has helped them to turn that into a larger kind of other businesses and holding companies that they've been able to leverage. And with that, it comes with lots of secrets, lots of scandals. And when I dreamed up the series, my thought was to create something that's like a soap opera, but what if Victor Newman on Young and the Restless was black? It was kind of like my thought process. And so in Careless Whispers, the third book in the series, it follows Elena Robidoux, and so the family is the Robidoux family. And she knows how people view her as cold-hearted, ambitious, and ruthless, but none of that matters to her because all she cares about is taking over the family business. That's what she's been raised to do. That's what she has sacrificed so much to do. But then her father hires arrogant and unflappable Alex Tyson. And Alex is someone who understands the dynamics of family legacy, but he also doesn't want to put up with Elena's crap. And so they have a kind of adversarial relationship. And when she ends up being fired from the company, they then later have to work on a project together. And so one impulsive kiss between them leads to a chain reaction of a whirlwind relationship, but whether or not their relationship can survive the secrets and the family loyalties, that's a whole different story. And so it's an enemies to lovers romance, so people who like that, they will really enjoy Careless Whispers. And the section I'm going to read is a real quick section that leads up to the very first kiss that they have, that first impulsive kiss. And so what's happened is Elena and Alex are volunteering at the country club, and they're going downstairs to kind of check out the decorations, and they get locked in the basement because it's a romance novel. And so while they're locked in the basement, they have this conversation. So Elena watched him for a few seconds as he read over the list in the box he'd opened. Sade was very friendly. I was surprised you chose to help me instead of going off with her. He didn't look up from the paper. I wasn't interested in going off with her. I couldn't tell. Was there a reason you paid so much attention to my interaction with Sade? This time he did look up and nailed her with that I can see through your bullshit stare. Elena glanced away quickly. I just noticed, that's all. She's a nice person. I even tried hooking her up with Byron once. You could do worse. Why would I want to do worse? She lifted a shoulder. Sometimes worse is more fun. In what way? He asked. The person you know you shouldn't be with always holds the bigger appeal, she stated matter-of-factly. It's the entire off-limits aspect that makes everything much more addictive. Are you speaking from experience? She turned to face him. Her heart pounded again, and a dozen warning bells went off in her head. She should shut down the flirting, but the look in Alex's eyes said he was willing to go with her down this path. I've had some experience with wanting the wrong man. But that's all in your past now. He took a half step closer. She shook her head. She'd never been good at not going for what she wanted. Her ego needed stroking. Alex, with his quiet understanding and empathy, had shown her more care than anyone had in a long while. She'd be smarter this time. This was just to quell her curiosity. People said there was a thin line between love and hate. Maybe all of their bickering had just been leading to this. Not quite, she said, choosing her next words carefully. She pretended to check the list on her box. I found myself thinking about someone who I once despised. I miss clashing with him daily. I enjoy the verbal sparring, not to mention he recently wrapped his arms around me, and for some reason I can't get that out of my head. She glanced at him. He's stronger than I imagined, his embrace comforting in a way I didn't realize I'd like. It makes me want even more, though I know I shouldn't. Alex still next to her. What are you going to do about this ill-advised craving? It kind of depends on him, she said. And so that's the end of the section I'm going to read from.
Okay. Sounds interesting. All right, my first question to you all is, what made you want to become a writer?
I'll go first since I'm still off mute. I wanted to be a writer ever since I was little. I have the first books that I wrote in 4th and 5th grade. I have books I hand wrote in high school. That's why I love the idea of writing stuff that relates to the high school students. It's amazing doing that. And I've just always been a writer. And what made me pursue writing was when I was at work and a friend just kind of dropped everything to go to law school. And I was like, well, if she can go to law school, I can write a book. And so that made me actually take it seriously and pursue publishing.
What made you? Why weren't you pursuing writing?
At the time, it was just life. I had gone to college, I got a job, got married, had kids. So I just kind of was working under the assumption that I didn't have enough time, and I just kind of dabbled. I had 3 different books I was working on. But when she did that, I was like, yo, let's pick one, let's finish it. And let's move forward. And that's what I did. So it was just seeing her go after her dream made me realize I needed to just quit kicking the can and quit, I'm going to write a little bit on this book and a little bit on that book. No, I'm just going to focus on one and I'm going to actually write it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to see that you went after your dreams. That's wonderful. I love that. Anybody else want to say what made them want to be a writer?
First, I've been a reader ever since I can remember reading. My mother always tells a story about her reading this story to me, and I would say, that's not what that says. And she cracks those jokes about that. She tells everyone that. But what really led me to writing, my cousin was murdered when she was 15. She was on a date with her boyfriend, and a guy walked up to them. They were in the park off Kings Highway near Matthew Dickey's, and he made them get in the car, whatever, and he ended up raping and strangling her, and she was 15. And so at the age of 15, I call this stage of life where I created my own obstacles. I became a mother, a teenage mother at that, and just had seen so much. And after her, I was 7 years older than what she was when she passed. So I was a big cousin. And I said at 15, I had seen and experienced so much because, of course, coming up during the crack era where, people were trying to get you to get high on whatever. So I didn't fall victim to those type of things, but I had been exposed to so much and seen so much. I felt that I had a testimony, and it was something that I needed to share to help other people. Like if you are faced with a situation, you just never give up. And so that made me sit down and pen my first novel. And so going through that and losing my cousin, it was like I have a purpose. I don't know what my purpose is, but my purpose is to tell this story and get it out there, and just know no matter whatever it is that you face, you just never give up.
That's a good reason to write.
I'll take it next.
Okay.
I've always been a writer, but not really a writer. And what I mean by that is I've liked to write, but I would never show anyone. And it's funny because my career has required a lot of writing. Like I have to write executive business plans, business cases. I've had to do like strategic plans and things of that nature. So I've done a lot of writing within the scope of my 9-to-5 career, but I had never really done anything, outside of that. And my mom had been telling me for years, you have a testimony and you need to share it with people. And one day you and your daughter need to get together and write a story, particularly with you being a single black man and a single black man who actually has custody of your daughter. Other men need to hear that, and other women need to hear it too. You've had your share of struggles. And, they need to see that it's not just them and how you've overcome those struggles or whatever. So I said, yeah, okay. I told myself, all right, I'll write that story one day when my daughter's, old enough for us to sit down so that I could really reveal all of the truths to her. And my plan was that I was going to actually give it to her, and I wasn't going to write it. I was just going to tell her and let her be the ghostwriter, kind of like how King David did with Solomon when he gave him the plans to the temple, saying, hey, I'm going to give you the plans, you write it, and you keep the proceeds from it or whatever, and you do with it whatever you will. So my plan was thinking that she would be between 18 and 22 when I, revealed her whole truth to her or whatever. I already got a title for it. I already know how I wanted to write it. It's just not something that I wanted to write. It's just something that I wanted to leave to her as a gift. And when she wrote her book last year, that kind of lit a fire under me, but I still wasn't ready yet. It was when she came to me and, told me in October that I needed to go ahead and tell the story. And I said, okay, I kind of listened, but I didn't. My mom said, she's right. You need to tell the story. And I came back and I said, well, she's not old enough or mature enough to know all of the truths that I'm going to tell her and that I'm going to share. And my mom said, you don't have to tell the whole story. You can just tell part of it. Go off a memoir as opposed to an autobiography. And when you go with the memoir, you only have to tell the parts that you want to share. And I said, okay, well, I'll think about it. And the uniqueness of this was that, with it being October, it was my daughter's birthday weekend. And we were at my mom's house celebrating because my mom's birthday is in October, too. So I spoke to a couple of friends who are authors, too. And, and just having conversations with them about their books, I shared a little bit about mine. And they said, you really need to write that book, yourself and Haelee. Y'all need to sit down and get the writing. So after the second and third person told me, I said, okay, fine. So let me go to Haelee and see if she's ready to tell the rest of the story or tell the full story. And she said, yeah, Dad, I told you we needed to sit down and write it. So I said, okay. And the big thing was, realizing that, the story that I had to share wasn't for me. It was for someone else and to help other people because she's been through a lot of life. I've been through a lot of life. What I've been through in life would have killed most people or drove them crazy. But I survived. And, and I survived because of different things that were poured into me. And the whole thing was to try and help someone else survive so that they didn't kill themselves or, they didn't succumb to alcoholism or things of that nature. So it was basically, hey, the big impetus and the fire behind me was to save someone else. So that's what inspired me to write, was to save someone else and to let other people know you can truly get through anything. As long as you have determination, as long as you have faith in God, He will pull you through all things.
He will. Amen. How are you all meeting new readers during this time? What are you guys doing?
For me, I've been hopping on that Clubhouse. And on that Clubhouse, whatever room I go into, I check that person out and then go to their Instagram and following different hashtags on Instagram. And for my birthday this year, I gave away each one of my book titles, and each person that I gave a book to, I asked them to post it on their page. And so from there, like just normal little networking, I've been selling books to people that were already on my friends list from Facebook. Just from them posting the book, I'm getting Cash Apps, PayPal orders, the Amazon. I'm gonna be able to buy me 2 Starbucks.
Love it. That's good. I am enjoying Clubhouse too. I think you and Dedrick were who I came from Clubhouse. I think Synithia too. So hey, I've been enjoying Clubhouse. So I definitely recommend it to people if they need somewhere to meet some new people.
Yeah, this is Synithia. I've been online events since stuff got shut down in person. I used to love to go to reader events pre-COVID. Now I don't. It's rare if I turn down a virtual. I've gotten. It's been amazing to me to get messages. Hey, I read your book. Can you talk to our book club? Yes, I'll Zoom. I love it. Libraries in states that I haven't been in, like, hey, we're doing this trivia thing. Will you be willing to do a trivia question for our members? Of course. I've never been to your library, but I want your readers to know about me and know about my books. And so that's been a way outside of just social media, because I agree the hashtags on Instagram is a great way to find people. I'm on Twitter a lot. That's probably the biggest one that I'm on. I love watching and talking and doing stuff on Twitter, but just to meet new readers, since you can't do it in person, to try to do the live events, to do the Facebook and IG lives with other writers that I know are to participate if a book club calls me, or if a library wants me to do something, or if there's a panel, just to try to get out there and talk to people. And it's always been fun, the questions that you get, and the new writers, not just readers, but the other writers I've met through doing that too. And then we connect on social media and just keep the discussion going. So that's been good.
Oh, you've been doing a lot. That's great. That's great. I have a question for you for Twitter. I have a lot of clients who don't get Twitter. So what are 3 tips you would advise about Twitter for writers?
3 tips. Okay. Let me see. So I would say, number 1, use lists. So it's one thing to follow a lot of people, but if you create a list, so for instance, I'm in Columbia, South Carolina, so I have a list of just like South Carolina people. I have a list of writers. I have a list of publishers. I have a list of editors. And you can make them public or private, however you want to do it. So that way you can, because there's so much stuff on Twitter, that you can at least see the people that you want to interact with. 2, interact with people. If somebody says something, responding to the conversation. When I first got on Twitter, following hashtags for TV shows. Like, I don't just talk about my writing on Twitter. I love Korean dramas. I got into that last year with the pandemic. So I follow K-drama hashtags, and I've virtually met other people who enjoy that kind of things. Other TV shows that you watch, there's usually a hashtag for it. Movies, there's a hashtag, and you can join conversations that way and just kind of have those conversations that aren't just focused on writing. So not being afraid to kind of reach out and do that. And then just post consistently. Like, you don't have to, if you want to just be yourself or your brand, just be that on Twitter. You don't have to always just post. Yes, post about your book, put that stuff, promote it, but also just, put stuff out there. Just, hey, I'm, doing this today or thinking about that. What do you guys think? Throw a hashtag with it so you can get people to kind of respond, and just be out there and use it. And I just enjoy it, and that's where I get a lot of news from, and then I just go down a rabbit hole and be on Twitter constantly. So those would kind of be my tips for Twitter.
I want to piggyback off what she said with the Twitter. When you talk about TV shows of interest, like, you get the retweets and the conversations, and so you get so many people that just come. Like the Twitter land is outrageous. One of the it's like it's no such thing as really going viral on Twitter because once they so many people can view it and retweet it, and it's not. I can't think of the summary that you get from how many people they've seen who interacted with your tweet, and that brings people to come look into your page. Like when what was the shop with Annalise?
How to get away with murder.
How to get away with murder. How to get away with murder and Scandal. I would get so many people just retweeting or just having those conversations, just talking about those. So that's one. Just you don't have to just talk about your books, but just what she said, just talking about any little thing on Twitter, and you get a following from that.
That's so true. I was I do This Is Us, and that's the only time I used to be on Twitter is when This Is Us is on, and I do the hashtag. And the people on the show have retweeted and said stuff to me, so you be freaking out on that. But I didn't know nothing about this K-drama hashtag, so see, I'm probably gonna be on there all night. But I love K-dramas. I found them like 3 or 4 years ago, and that's my comfort shows. I'm watching the K-drama.
Same here.
And I like the romance ones, and so I go looking for them. I'm all on Google searching for new ones to watch, so I would definitely be checking out the K-drama hashtag because I didn't know that existed. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I use Twitter for news. If you want to know anything that's happening in the world, Twitter is the place to go. If you want to know about the scandals that's happening in the literary world, Twitter is the place to be. I'm always 2 days late, but I don't care. I just read down the feed.
It's still there. You can still find it.
Right. You get all the scoops is what's going on. And people that say, oh, well, I don't get Twitter. I was like, it's not to be gotten. You're just supposed to watch it. Yeah. I love when people say that. I don't understand. I don't understand Twitter. Like, you're missing out. You're missing out. What has been the most surprising thing about being a published author for you guys?
I'll speak to that one. Everyone knowing your name and everyone knowing who you are and your stories preceding you. As an example, my daughter and I were on ABC 11 News in Raleigh, North Carolina. And they did a story on us about our books and our business and things of that nature. And we walked into I took her into the hair salon one day. And we didn't tell anyone about the story or anything to that effect, but it was on the news all day. And we walked in the salon, and everybody was like, hey, didn't we see you guys on the news? And so on and so forth. And everybody was coming up and saying, ooh, and they realized that we have an agreement with the salon owner where our books are carried in the salon, but there's no pictures associated with it, like you want to be non-discreet about who we were or whatever. So then the salon owner pointed and said, yeah, that was them, and that's their book right there. So now everybody's saying, hey, can you sign this for us? Can you autograph this for us? Would you be willing to speak at my school or speak at my church or things of that nature? And it's like, for me, I'm someone who prefers to be behind the curtain than on the stage. So that was also an issue with me writing. I don't like to be front and center. I'm not shy. It's just a preference. I prefer to be behind the stage than on the stage. And so, all of that, unexpected attention took me aback, and actually it took both my daughter and I aback. And, like I said, people just say, you're an inspiration and you're such a good guy, you're such a good dad, and this, that, and the third. I'm like, well, y'all don't really know me like that. I mean, based off what you read, you can assume that I'm a good dad, but, I may not be. I mean, I am a good dad, but I'm just saying, just because I wrote it doesn't mean that that's exactly who I am. So that was the big challenge and struggle for me, especially being someone that's introverted. I prefer to be alone and be left alone and not to be seen. Just getting used to that, the newfound celebrity or whatever that comes with it. And we've been on other TV shows and things of that nature too. But some of those were missed and some of those weren't. But, yeah, just walking in and saying, hey, I saw both of y'all on the news, or your face looks very familiar. And then someone confirming it. Had no one confirmed it, I would say, no, that wasn't us, because I don't want people to know. I was like, yeah, I'd rather be, as I said, non-discreet and non-attributable. But, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's the sad side of the business is that you do not have unless you do a pseudonym, so most people want to know who you are. They want to know nowadays they want to know all your business, I think that comes from social media. What you eating? What you slept in? What you?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, really? Why do you want to know that? Because I work with a lot of clients, and they're like, what should I share on social media? I said, well, you
right.
what to share on your own, but they're like, they want to know what I'm eating every day. I'm not telling that. They ask, and then they want to know, take a picture, so I'm not taking a picture of what I'm eating every day. I said, some people do.
Yes.
So you just have to, like I tell people, you have to find your comfort zone and your thing. What is it that you want to share? I talk about the TV shows that I love. I like talking about TV shows. I like talking about movies. I talk about my kids. They get mad at me because I talk about them. But that's you, my kids. I can talk about. So I just say find your comfort zone, because if you plan on writing more books, that's just gonna put you out there a little bit more.
Well, I'm thinking
a lot of people.
I'm thinking in that
a
case,
lot of people being. Go ahead.
Or use a fake profile picture, because I want to be behind the curtain.
Look, they gonna find you out. Don't use no fake one. They will shut you down. This not him.
Then you have to send an ID to identify who you are. But
right.
I've been listening to a lot of people talk about how nosy people are, and so just posting anything will get those people like the lurkers onto you, and like with the stories, those people that don't like posts, they're viewing your stories. So, just doing those different little things to get their attention. It's like, for me, I'm real goofy, so I find goofy little memes to post and stuff like that, and but I have to keep a part of professionalism going, because I have past students, past parents, so it's like, and those people that's like, is she a teacher? So it's trying to find a balance for myself. So I'm particular about certain things that I post, but I find so many things that I think is funny, like, oh my God, I want to share this, and it's like, no, it's too many cuss words. I want to share this. So.
Yeah, I always tell my husband, that's not my brain. That's not my brain. You do have to be careful of some stuff if that's not what you're used to. I know when you're dealing with politics, a lot of that stuff comes out. And I usually don't say much about politics, mainly because I work for the government, and I just keep it out there. But every now and then, somebody that pisses me off, I might have to say something. But you have to be. I was listening to an interview today about Angie Thomas. She's a young adult writer, and she was saying that she has a Instagram page, and it's Angie After Dark. And so she's talking about, now I just want you to know, yes, I'm a young adult author, but I am an adult.
Right.
So she's like, don't be thinking it's going to be young adult topics on this talk. So, I think you can show both sides. If you do it nicely, you can show both sides of yourself, and people also have to realize that you are a person too. Sometimes people put you on this high pedestal that you can't do no wrong, and then when you do wrong, then they want to talk about you. And she was supposed to be in, it's like, I am a person.
I'm human.
When you piss me off, I'm a sailor, and it comes out. Now, I usually don't curse on social media, but if they put me to that limit and the sailor has to come out, she comes out, and I will tell you, hey, the sailor comes out. I was a sailor for 6 years, 6 years active, 6 years reserve, and if she will come out if you push her. So, I'm a human being. So sometimes you have to let them readers know I'm still human. Thank you. I have feelings.
Yeah. Yes, at the end of it's just those different little things, like you never know no one's story, those type of things, right, and what people are dealing with. So, I still want to
after the book is released, what's going on in people's lives.
Yes. Yep.
Having a hard time. Woo. Synithia, did you have anything?
I was the the wanting the access and all that's interesting, because again, on Twitter, the people, when you finally meet them in person, like, oh, I know you on Twitter, or oh, I'm here, I'm also in that city, where are you? And like, oh, okay, so like then I stop posting the cities I'm in until after I'm leaving, stuff like that. But one of the other surprising things to me when I became a published author was the other duties as assigned, that little line at the bottom of the job description they don't tell you about, because you think, oh, I'm just going to write this book and I'm going to put it out there and then magic dust will make it great. But I wasn't thinking about, oh, no, you have to cultivate a brand on social media. You have to work on promoting your book. You have to find a way to reach out to readers. And a lot of times when I was early starting, or when I was young and fantasizing about being a writer, it's like, oh, you just write and then you're famous, yay! And it's not like that at all. So that was the thing. Sometimes the quote unquote business side of writing is just like, oh, I don't want to do this. I want to just write the book and just toss it out and just to the world and be done with it. So I set aside specific times to work on the business side of writing, so that the majority of my time during the week, because I'm also a day job, work in government, so that when I have to focus during the week, it can just be on putting words on the paper, and then I can just have a designated time to do all those other duties as assigned.
I like that. That's some good advice. I think that one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast was to show the real life of writers, because especially for readers, they only see you pushing the book out. They don't see the struggle that goes with it. And other writers don't see that struggle either. They thinking, they're still romanticizing that they're just going to write it. I get people all the time, I'm just going to write the book. I don't have to promote. Amazon will do it for me. I'm like, okay. Yeah.
I wish. If you find that magic button that says Amazon's going to do it for you, please send it to me. I will push that button too.
I was like, that's not how it works. I'm on that commercial. That's not how it works.
Not for free. If Amazon's going to then it's learning Amazon ads. It's learning.
Yeah, it's so many other things that go with it that I like doing on the asking questions on the podcast, because I want you to know the real deal, not the
right.
Not the fantasy life that you're gonna be. I have friends who want to be with published houses, and they're thinking they're going to be doing all this stuff. And I said, have you listened to my podcast? Most of them people is not getting, they ain't getting that star treatment that Harry Potter mama got.
It's not the Harry Potter treatment. It's working, and each publisher is different. I work with different publishers, and like the publicist who I'm working with now at HQN, she's great. And she does stuff, but then I also have to do things as well, because, even if they do something for you or try to promote your book, that's still not everybody that you could be reaching if you just sit back and be like, oh, I'm just going to wait on the publisher to do it. No, you still have to promote and put your book out there and be seen as well.
Well, I noticed that when a certain company closed their business to the authors, that a lot of them didn't stay on is because of their promotion skills. Mm-hmm. They weren't selling the way they're supposed to sell, and they didn't. But I talked to a couple people, and they were like, "Well, I just don't have time to promote." And I was like, "Well, that's gonna hurt you. If it's your business, then it's you can say that. But when it's somebody else's business and you not making time to make them some money, then they're not going to hold on to you. That's just how business works. If you're not putting in the work, eventually they're going to fire you, and so you have to be real careful on what you're doing when it comes to that business side. You, like you said, you take time, you put on your schedule what you're going to do. And a lot of people don't, and then before they know it, they have not promoted at all. And it catches up with you later, The sale numbers, I tell my clients all the time, the results tell the truth all the time. The Starbucks little royalty check, it tells the truth. You don't want a Starbucks royalty check when you work with a publisher.
Right.
You trying to make some money. You want those are the people that make paying some real money. You want real money. You know, if it's your little business, you can be like, well, I'm working on it. I'm getting there. I ain't promoting in 2 months, so I can understand this check. But when you with a big company, you know, they don't understand that. They like, you only sold 2 books. How much we pay you? you know. So you gotta treat your business the same way as the big publishers. You know, if you want to make some money, and you can make money in the writing business, it takes time. You got to build up your readership, and you have to be committed to it, just like a job. It's your job, you know. But it's not an easy path for being a writer. And when you hear people go, it's great. You can do this, you can do that. Ask them more questions.
Ask the other duties as assigned, that fine print at the bottom of the job description.
Yes, and other duties will take you out.
Yeah.
They take you out, you be still over there to myself. Did I sign up for this really? You know, I've seen so many people who have decided they're gonna retire from the writing business, and I'm like, oh, you know, but it's a commitment. And you have to be prepared. So, you know.
But I will say too, the good side is stuff like this. You bringing writers together, and the good thing is finding a writing community. You know, of people who will support you and help you with those other duties, or help pick you up when those other duties are pushing you down. That's the great side too of writing. So I recommend everybody who is writing, find your group, find the people who are going to support you and will understand when you say the voices in your head, and they're not just looking at you like you know, talking out crazy. They understand the voices in your head. They understand the need to write, and so having that community helps you in those tough times too. So,
yeah, that's excellent advice. I highly recommend having a community. I know my community is why I keep doing what I'm doing, because I see the success that they have. And I know if I commit myself, it can happen for me too. So having a community is very important. Did you want to say something, Teresa?
Being committed and having discipline and just being consistent are some things. And what I find myself doing is that I work 7 hours for someone else. So I make sure that out of my day, Monday through Friday, I have 4 hours set for myself and my book. So I'm dedicating those 4 hours to do something. If it's coming up with a plan, writing, thinking about promotion, you know, those type of things. And I'm writing it down. So, you know, this could be a guide to help with other things, and, you know, trying to decide on if I want to do a blog to help other writers. Those type of things, but just making sure that I'm working on myself, giving myself time out of the day to help grow, you know, what I've started.
That's excellent advice. I love that. That's excellent, because I need to do that sometimes. I do my business, but I need to be more committed to my writing, because I'm doing podcasts, I'm doing Clubhouse, I'm doing all kinds of stuff. So I need to commit to doing the book too. So yes, thank you very much. I like that. All right, well, oh my goodness, we are at the end, people. We're at the end. Can you tell us how we can get in touch with you online?
I can be found on Twitter at Theresa Seals, on Facebook as Author Theresa Seals, and on Instagram, I just thought about this, I may need to change back to Theresa Seals, because on Instagram I use my married name, Mrs. Teresa Taylor. So I may need to go back with that, but that's how I can be found on social media platforms.
Yep, I am at Synithia W on Twitter and Instagram, SYNITHIAW. There's another Synithia out there who are getting my readers, so don't leave off the W if you look for me on Twitter or Instagram. And if you put in Synithia Williams on Facebook, you'll find my author page, but I'm mostly active on Twitter and Instagram. And there's my website, SanethiaWilliams.com. All my books are listed there, and links to all my social media is on my website as well.
Hi, this is Dedrick. My daughter and I can both be found on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and I'm on Clubhouse. She is not. We share our account on Clubhouse. I'm not going to call those names out because it's too many acronyms. The easiest way to find us is just go to our website, which is the www.thebookofselflove.com. There's links to all of our social media on there. That's the easiest way to find us, because if you go to YouTube, it's one name. If you go to IG, it's another name. Unfortunately, YouTube wouldn't let us use the same name or whatever, so it's easy just to go to the website. It's a one-stop shop. You can find us, email us, call us, or whatever, just by going there. So, again, it's www.thebookofselflove.com.
Well, thank you for all that information. Everybody will be able to get in touch with you. I want to thank you, our listeners, for taking time to listen to the podcast. You know I have my 3 questions for you. Did you enjoy this episode? Subscribe to the platform you are listening to so you don't miss an episode. Number 2, what did you think of this episode? Tell us by writing a review on the platform you're listening to, or send to onesormag@gmail.com. Did you learn something from this episode? If you did, please share the podcast with your community. Would you like to be a guest for an episode? Contact me at onesormag@gmail.com. One last question. Have you promoted your book or business today? If you haven't, go showcase those wings. Someone needs what you have to offer. This is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I will see you on the next.